The United States just escalated tensions with Venezuela to a level we haven't seen in years. The Trump administration has ordered a physical blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. The U.S. Coast Guard has already seized 2 vessels, and they're actively pursuing a 3rd tanker that's trying to evade boarding. This isn't sanctions on paper anymore. This is enforcement at sea, and it's already moving oil prices, disrupting supply chains, and raising the risk of a serious incident in the Caribbean. Today we're breaking down what's actually happening between the US and Venezuela, why this matters for global energy markets, and what the 3 most likely scenarios are for 2026. Let's get into it. First, let's establish the facts on the ground, or rather, at sea. According to Reuters, the Trump administration has ordered an operational blockade targeting sanctioned tankers moving Venezuelan oil. The U.S. Coast Guard has already seized 2 vessels and is pursuing a 3rd tanker called the Bella 1, which has so far managed to avoid boarding. This is physical interdiction. Ships are being boarded, crews are being detained, and cargo is being seized. This isn't just financial sanctions or diplomatic pressure. This is maritime enforcement with immediate operational impact. Venezuela's response has been predictably defiant. The Venezuelan parliament passed a law against what they call piracy and blockades, with penalties up to 20 years in prison. It's clearly designed as political messaging and internal deterrence, but it signals how Caracas is framing the situation domestically. Now, here's where it gets operationally interesting. Because of the seizures and the blockade risk, Venezuela's state oil company, PDVSA, is increasingly resorting to floating storage. Onshore storage tanks are filling up because exports are getting blocked or delayed. Reuters reports that inventories are at their highest levels since August 2025, with multiple cargoes stuck offshore. But there's a critical detail that complicates the narrative. Chevron is still operating and exporting through joint ventures with PDVSA. Those exports represent a significant share of production in key areas like the Orinoco Belt. So even as the blockade intensifies, there's a legal export channel that remains open, at least for now. So why is the United States escalating to physical interdiction? There are 3 strategic reasons, and they're not mutually exclusive. Reason 1. Cut off Maduro's dollar supply. Venezuela depends on oil exports for hard currency revenue. By targeting shipping and payments, the U.S. is attempting economic strangulation. If Maduro can't sell oil, he can't finance his government, his security forces, or his patronage networks. Reason 2. Redistribute global energy flows. If you make it risky and expensive to buy Venezuelan oil, you force discounts and renegotiations. This alters the global supply chain for heavy sour crude, affects refinery economics, and shifts market share to other producers. It's not just about Venezuela. It's about reshaping the entire flow of heavy crude in global markets. Reason 3. Send a global signal. The real audience here isn't just Caracas. It's Beijing, Moscow, Tehran, and anyone else watching. The message is, sanctions are no longer just banking compliance. They can become operational maritime enforcement. If you're helping sanctioned regimes evade restrictions, the U.S. might physically seize your ships. This is a significant escalation in how sanctions are enforced globally. Now let's talk about the economic and market implications, because this isn't just geopolitics, it's moving prices and flows right now. First, the oil risk premium. More risk on shipping routes and delivery uncertainty means higher prices. Reuters directly linked the blockade announcement to a rise in oil prices. Even if the actual volume disrupted is small, the uncertainty creates a premium. Second, discounts and arbitrage opportunities. Venezuela is likely offering steeper discounts to find buyers willing to take on the seizure risk. This creates distortions in pricing for similar crude grades, especially heavy sour crude, and affects refinery margins for plants that can process Venezuelan oil. Third, shipping and insurance costs. Maritime enforcement raises costs across the board: insurance premiums, freight rates, route deviations. It makes energy transport more political and more expensive. Fourth, secondary sanctions via tariffs. According to a Congressional Research Service document and White House announcements, the U.S. has introduced the possibility of a 25% tariff on countries that import Venezuelan oil. This is a massive leverage point. It's not just punishing Venezuela, it's threatening third-party countries and forcing them to choose sides. This tariff mechanism can fundamentally reshape trade flows and diplomatic relationships. Let me give you 3 realistic scenarios for how this plays out in 2026. Scenario 1. Controlled escalation. Most likely, the U.S. continues selective interdictions and seizures, maintaining pressure without triggering a major incident. PDVSA increases discounts, uses more floating storage, and finds alternative routes and partners willing to take the risk. Market impact: sustained volatility in oil prices, elevated shipping premiums, and periodic price spikes when new seizures are announced. This scenario keeps the pressure on but avoids a crisis. This is the most probable path if Trump maintains a hard line, but avoids pushing Venezuela into a corner where they have nothing to lose. Scenario 2. Tactical deal. Possible. If both sides need relief, Venezuela makes some negotiating concessions, perhaps related to elections, political guarantees, or partial agreements on governance, in exchange for sanctions relief or at least reduced enforcement intensity. Chevron remains the stable legal export channel, and other flows get normalized in phases. The US gets some diplomatic wins, and Maduro gets economic breathing room. Market impact: the oil risk premium declines, and there are opportunities for companies with regulatory access through licenses or exemptions. This scenario reduces uncertainty and allows Venezuelan production to stabilize. This is possible if either side decides the current trajectory is unsustainable, or if there's a broader regional diplomatic push. Scenario 3. Major incident and escalation. Tail risk. A serious incident occurs, a boarding that goes wrong, a regional military escalation, or a diplomatic rupture that spills into broader tensions. This turns Venezuela into a macro theme for weeks or months. Market impact: sharp spike in oil prices, flight to safety flows into gold and treasuries, and stress on shipping and insurance markets. This scenario is lower probability, but extremely high impact. Reuters already describes the operational complexity and limited resources involved in these interdictions. The more ships the US tries to seize, the higher the chance something goes wrong. If you want to track where this is headed, here are the 5 key indicators to monitor closely. First, the number of seizures and interdictions. If enforcement intensity increases, so does the risk premium. Watch how many ships the US Coast Guard actually boards and detains. Second, PDVSA inventories and floating storage levels. If these keep rising, it signals the blockade is effective and Venezuelan exports are genuinely constrained. Reuters reported inventories at highs not seen since August 2025. Third, the status of Chevron's licenses and payment restrictions. This is the legal channel that determines how much oil continues flowing to the US. If those licenses get revoked or tightened, it's a major signal of escalation. Fourth, enforcement of the 25% tariff on buyers of Venezuelan oil. This is the lever that can shift global flows, not just punish Caracas. Watch which countries get targeted and how they respond. Fifth, price differentials for heavy sour crude. If spreads widen significantly between Venezuelan crude and comparable grades, the market is pricing in quality disruptions and refining constraints. Here's the bottom line: the US-Venezuela confrontation has moved from diplomatic pressure and financial sanctions to physical maritime enforcement. That changes the risk calculus for everyone involved: oil traders, shipping companies, insurers, and countries that buy Venezuelan crude. For 2026, the most likely path is controlled escalation with periodic spikes in tension and prices. But the risk of a major incident or a broader diplomatic rupture is real, and the market is starting to price that in. If you want more analysis on energy markets, geopolitics, and global trade, subscribe and let me know in the comments which scenario you think plays out in 2026. I'll see you in the next one.